I loves me some Dave Rubin. He is our Gen Xer who's going to change the world, and he met Elon Musk.
He's fun. He laughs a lot. The second I walked into the office with him, he immediately had a little funny video on his phone that he wanted to show to everybody. He was joking around. Really nice guy. Actually, the two meetings that I had with him, I was there for about 48 hours. The two meetings that I had with him were both after midnight. That tells you that this guy is working hard. Let's not forget, he's also still running Tesla and SpaceX and a bunch of other things. And, you know, he was testifying in court. He had quarterly earnings meetings for Tesla that day. There's a lot going on for this guy. And on the first night, when I had just arrived, because I got a call, I'm in Florida, East Coast time. I got a call, could you be at Twitter this evening? I immediately got on a plane. It's about a 6-hour flight to San Francisco. I didn't arrive till about midnight, so I met him late night. He came up to me, we chatted for a few minutes, and then he said, look, I'm really tired right now, but if you need me for something specific, if you want me to stay, I'll stay. Otherwise, let's do it tomorrow. And I thought, man, that tells you everything you need to know about this guy. You know, I show up, this is the world's richest man, and he's asking me if he's allowed to stay or not. You know, I mean, it was really something else. But he's also very serious when it comes to the work stuff. He understands that he has bitten off a huge problem right now with Twitter, and every day they seem to discover more problems, whether it's within the code, whether it's people working there that are potentially still sabotaging it, whether it's whatever alignment they're finding out was happening with the government that he no longer wants to be happening. It's a whole problem, a whole set of problems, but the guy's working hard. But I will tell you this, he said basically what he's working with right now is a giant Jenga tower. And I'm sure you guys have Jenga over there in Australia, you know, this wooden block game. And if you pull one piece, the whole thing might collapse. And that's what he's finding is happening. He had mentioned, for example, that I think it was the day before, they had tried to fix something on Twitter Spaces, which is their audio portion of Twitter. They fixed that, and then suddenly the Android app did not work for a day, even though he thought those things were completely disconnected. So they're finding that there's a lot of layers of this thing. He also likened it to a tiramisu cake, you know, a layered cake, that the deeper you go, they're just finding crazier and crazier stuff. So it's a mess, but I sense he is up to the challenge.
So do you get the sense that Twitter, because obviously the restrictor plate was off once you sack a whole bunch of people who clearly were overtly playing with things, but is there something in the design that's a little more pernicious? There's something in the way that it fundamentally works? Because when I was watching your video about this a couple of days ago, it was very obvious that there's a chance he might have to start again.
Yeah, it's a great question. He's trying to figure that out right now. I mean, basically, because they keep trying to untie a knot, and every time they untie that knot, you know, whatever metaphor you want to use, the cake or the knot, there's another knot behind it, there's another layer of the cake, the Jenga tower is going to fall. He did say that to me. He flat out said, we may have to start all over, but you're right. I mean, building that tech stack, you know, just like that is not going to be the easiest thing in the world. And, you know, he just spent $44 billion on a not profitable company. So I don't think that that was his intention, to walk in there, fire half the staff, which is what he did. They were at about 7,500 employees. They have about 3,500 now. Fired half the people, and then to have to rebuild the entire product is probably not what he wanted. He just may have to do it. That was flat out what he said to me. And after a couple hours with him, I said, hey, you know, can I repeat some of this stuff to my audience? I think people would really appreciate, you know, knowing a little bit more, and you can't do it all on your own, meaning, you know, he's out there tweeting all day trying to tell people what's going on, but even he can't do it on his own. He needs some help. And he immediately, without hesitation, said, as long as it's true. And I thought that was really the mark of the guy more than anything else.
Sounds like a fascinating experience, and I hope that we get to hear more about it in the next little while. But also part of the experience was the whole going back to California. You shot some video clearly outside of the hellscape of homeless people, the same again in Los Angeles, although it's ever so slightly better. But again, how does this happen? I mean, we understand there's always been poor people, there's always been homeless people, but how does it end up that no matter what the street, depending on the city, it's as if they're waiting for concert tickets?
Yeah, it was really unbelievable what I saw in San Francisco. First off, we should make a distinction, and I'm sure you guys have a version of this too. There's one thing to have homeless people. Every city in the United States, from the biggest city to the smallest town, has homeless people. That's one thing. What I saw in San Francisco was not homeless people. This was a massive drug-induced stupor of a huge percentage of the population. Whether it's fentanyl, whether it's crack, whether it's something else, whether it's a combination of 10 different things, it was everywhere. It was quite literally on every block. There were people unconscious on the floor. It felt like The Walking Dead. There were mobs of people, and I am blown away that this is not covered on American television every single day. This is the most progressive, the most lefty city in the United States, and it is an absolute dystopian nightmare. You know, we all often talk about privilege these days. One of the things I say on my show all the time is the only privilege there is in the United States is Democrat privilege. Because if you're a Democrat, you're able to destroy almost everything you touch, which is exactly what Gavin Newsom has done. People really need to understand. 15 years ago, he was the mayor of San Francisco. It was one of the most beautiful cities in the entire United States. And he absolutely ruined it. But then what happens when he ruined it? He then moves up and becomes governor of the state, and subsequently he is ruining California. California in the last 3 years has lost about 1 million people. So the proof is in the pudding. You know, at the end of the day, we can all talk about what policies work, what politicians do that's good and bad and the rest of it. At the end of the day, you figure out where do people want to go to and where do they want to leave from, and that makes it very, very clear.